Welcome to the Real Story of Autoimmune Disease Summit version 2.0 and discover the impact your emotions have on your healing. I'm your host, Roberta Tachi, and today it's a pleasure to have here with me Dr. Ben Galyardts. Dr. Ben Galyardts is a doctor of chiropractor, is the founder and CEO of F8 Well Centers and the Galyardts Method. He's also a world-recognized speaker in neurofeedback and brain regeneration. Dr. Galyardts has helped thousands of people return to optimal health by digging deep and finding the root cause of chronic health issues. After successfully treating thousands of patients in his Colorado office, he decided to bring his Galyardts method to other parts of the country by opening satellite offices. He now leads and teaches his Galyardts method to all of their new doctors across the country while also working one-on-one with patients. Hello, Dr. Galyardts. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be on here.
I'm very glad you are here. And I want to ask you, because I know you have a personal story related to autoimmune disease, and this summit is about autoimmune disease. So can you share with us how did you get involved and what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was in high school, I was a junior, and my mom, she was active. She was a school teacher, got Teacher of the Year. We would go running together, lots of different things, hiking, all kinds of stuff. And she collapsed at one of my football games, and to the point where she had to get help to the car, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, what happened to your mom?" I don't know. I was playing. I didn't even see what happened. And so they went to her primary care doctor. They went to a neurologist, an endocrinologist, all these different doctors. And they finally said, you know what, this is multiple sclerosis. And it's going to be this downward spiral. You're going to have these flare-ups and then these remissions and these flare-ups and these remissions. But each time it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And eventually that's going to be it. You're going to end up dying from MS. And my mom was in her 40s, and that was like, that's not the way I want to go out.
That's a
And
very scary moment.
yeah, and for us, my mom had always been natural. Even when she was pregnant with my brother and I, she read Adele Davis, Let's Have Healthy Children, and based on the Weston Price work, and just really phenomenal things, and done a lot of stuff. So she was like, there's got to be more than this drug that they just put me on. And this drug suppresses the immune system. And so once we educated ourselves on what MS is and what autoimmune is, it was like, well, that's not fixing anything, just to try to suppress the immune system. So fortunately, my dad retired after my mom had to go on disability, go on the drugs, get a cane, get a wheelchair. He moved down to the Ozarks in Missouri, and my mom was going downhill. And there was probably 3 years of her life where she didn't even remember having conversations, just so doped up on all the meds and groggy and sleeping all day and everything. And it got to that point where we're like, man, this is going to be it. We're going to have to get wheelchair accessible in the house and all kinds of stuff. And so fortunately, they moved to this little town, about 10,000 people, and there was a doctor there. This was in the 90s, and even before it was called functional medicine, this doctor was doing functional medicine. And he was going through system by system by system, from all the way from the emotional side to the gut, to the brain, to the blood sugar, all these different things, to the point where he said, okay, you know what, we're going to fix these underlying imbalances. And she started reversing. She started going through each one of the systems, repairing, rebuilding, to the point where she got off all the medication. She gave away her wheelchair. She gave away her cane. And over 20 years now, she's been free of MS. Her last MRI, the neurologist said, you don't have MS anymore. If you were on one of the drugs, we call it a success, but you're not. So I guess it's a miracle. He never once asked, what she had done or anything. He was just like, well, okay, there you go. And
Sometimes they don't want to even know.
It's so outside their realm of reality. And so it's been over 20 years. She just turned 80 years old this year.
Oh, wow,
She's doing boot
congratulations.
camp. She takes my kids fishing, all types of things. This earlier this spring, after she had turned 80, that they go down to Arkansas for the winter. And I was talking to my dad. And I said, "Oh, what'd you guys do today?" He said, "Oh, we were cleaning out the gutters on the cabin, and your mom was up on the roof cleaning out the gutters." I'm like, "Is that safe?" And he said, I asked her the same thing, but she said, "I'm really agile for an 80-year-old." And so, that got me thinking, what in the world else can we heal from? If we can heal from MS, if our body can stop damaging, stop that flare, and actually reverse and heal that plaquing, what else can we heal from? And it's not just about, can we suppress the immune system? My thought process the entire time since I've gone through all my functional medicine training, worked with thousands and thousands of patients, my thought process every single time has to be, okay, what systems are out of balance that are causing that autoimmune disease? Why in the world would we go haywire? And that system could be your brain, and that's why we do neurofeedback. That's why we do brain maps and help calm down, get people out of fight or flight. That's why we look at blood sugar and keep the blood sugar stabilized, because when that blood sugar goes up too high or down too low, it revs up the immune response and it destroys more tissue. That's why you've got to look through each and every one of the systems. When I'm on TikTok or Instagram, any of the social media, people will ask, what do I take for my Hashimoto's? What do I take for my lupus? What do I do to treat my lupus? And I go, I say, I don't know. I don't know what you take for Hashimoto's, but I do know how to fix the systems that are out of balance that are triggering Hashimoto's. And that's where I go with every one of my patients. We talk about on social media all the time, is that thought process of why.
Yeah, it's almost like a detective work, because you're going toward the cause, and it's very different than just taking a pill or doing something to suppress the immune system, but not really taking care of the cause. And that's very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you mentioned now two things, and I want to ask about both of them. So one is the fight or flight, the stress, the effects of cortisol, the effects of inflammation in the body that is caused by just excessive stress. Stress is part of life, but it's not exactly in the way I think we are living right now. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've done for years and years with patients is what's called neurofeedback. And part of that discovery process with neurofeedback is a quantitative EEG. We call it a brain map. Brain map in 2013 was approved by the FDA as a diagnostic tool for ADD, but we can also see all types of different things. You can tell if somebody has anxiety or depression or Alzheimer's or Asperger's. There's a difference between autism and Asperger's, and we can actually see that in a brain map, and we can tell which way a patient is going. So with that brain map, we have different wavelengths: delta, theta, alpha, beta. The alpha wave is the really important one. Alpha is our relaxed meditative wave. So if you're sitting there and you're like in your Zen, yoga position, meditating, not thinking about anything, you're in alpha. As soon as you think about the grocery store or whatever else, boop, you jump up into beta. So alpha is this relaxed meditative wave. So if the alpha wave is too high, we're going to have a lot more likelihood of having anxiety, worry, rumination, things like that. Almost every autoimmune patient that I work with has a high alpha. And their brain is going, it's spinning, it's anxious, and it's in this, like you're saying, this fight or flight pattern. And what I really see, and I don't even know the exact physiology, neurology, whatever, I don't think anybody can map it all the way down, because we're talking brain neural pathways, and is it cortisol, is it whatever. But if somebody is in this chronic fight or flight, they're going to be way more likely to rev up their immune system and attack their own tissue, which is what happens in autoimmune. So if you're in this fight or flight state, if you're in this exaggerated response, then it's going to be way easier to get revved up and attack your own tissue. So that's one of the big things that we look at. So, whether somebody's doing meditation or talk therapy or relaxation techniques or neurofeedback or whatever they're doing, if with autoimmune, almost every single person has to get out of that fight or flight state.
Yeah, it makes sense. And sometimes what I have seen also is that the person many times has been for so long in that state that they don't realize that's not normal. That's a kind, they are always in a stress because they have been growing up in a stressed condition.
And moms like that, and you know, they're everybody in their family does that. That's just how they roll. But what's really interesting, I always say the number one stressor to the adrenal glands, it's not jobs and cars and kids and COVID and presidents and gas prices and whatever you want to stress about. It's actually blood sugar swings, especially blood sugar dips. Physiologically, every time that blood sugar goes up, we store glucose in the liver. So if it goes up, we use it in the cells, we have extra, we store it in the liver. Every time the blood sugar goes down, we're going to need to pull it out of the liver. The way the body does that is the adrenals are stimulated to tell the liver to release glucose. So not only do we have glucose floating around, which is good.
That was my next question that I was going to, okay, my next question is about the blood.
Which is good because otherwise, tired, spacey, hangry, you know, you're crashing. So then the body goes, here's glucose, but now you've also got adrenaline flowing through you. Dr. Tachi, and one of my favorite instructors of all time, especially for Hashimoto's, he always said, every time that blood sugar goes up too high, he's the godfather of Hashimoto's, so every time that blood sugar goes up too high, every time it goes down too low, you rev up that immune system and you destroy more thyroid tissue. So how important is it to stabilize the blood sugar?
I think that would be worth repeating. Every time the sugar go too high.
Every time your blood sugar spikes up, every time your blood sugar crashes down, you are going to rev up the immune response because of insulin, cortisol, all these physiological things that are happening. And you're going to rev up that immune response to the point where if you have Hashimoto's, it's going to destroy more thyroid. If you've got, I was talking to a lady today in New Zealand, and she has Sjogren's, and so it's going to rev up. She's not going to be able to make enough saliva. Her eyes are dry. You know, if you got alopecia, your hair's going to fall out more. 190 named autoimmune conditions plus probably now, and most of them I've never even heard of, thankfully, and hopefully I never have to see some of them in practice because there's some pretty gnarly things out there. It's the third leading cause of death when you lump all autoimmune conditions together. So when we're talking blood sugar, it's not just, it's blood sugar is this new craze. We were the first office that was using a finger prick glucose monitor 8-9 years ago with every single one of our patients. If you came into our office, we gave you a finger prick glucose monitor. You were poking your finger 6 to 8 times per day, every day. Why did I do this? Because of autoimmune patients, because I knew that just doing a keto diet, a paleo diet, a low glycemic index diet, at the end of the day, I did not know if that patient's blood sugar was stabilized. So we started doing finger prick glucose monitoring, and we did that with every single patient for years, and surprisingly, very few people actually said no. Pretty much everybody did it. Poke your fingers 6 to 8 times a day. So then about 4 years ago, we were able to get continuous glucose monitors at a reasonable price for our patients. And we were the first office that used CGMs with every single patient, not just pre-diabetic, not just diabetic, not just insulin resistant, but every patient. And you know who benefited even more than almost anybody was the people that were hypoglycemic. And if someone's hemoglobin A1C is 5.0 or lower, they are averaging hypoglycemic, and that's a huge stress on the adrenals. That's random anxiety because of that adrenaline response. That's waking up in the middle of the night, not being able to get back to sleep. That's all of these issues. So when we're thinking adrenals and stress and that response for autoimmune, you have to think about blood sugar, and you have to think about stabilizing 85 to 110 all day, every day, before meals, after meals, fasting, not fasting, everything.
Can you say that again? 85 is so
85
110 for the
110 all day, every day. You know, if you get down in the 70s, you're revving up your adrenals. So here's the deal. If you are autoimmune, anything, Hashimoto's, MS, lupus, Sjogren's, rheumatoid arthritis, whatever, intermittent fasting might be one of the worst things that you can be doing for your body. And intermittent fasting, that's all the rage, right? Everybody, oh, intermittent fasting, I've lost 20 pounds, I do. But think about this. If you're not tracking your blood sugar, and I'm not saying nobody should be intermittent fast. I'm saying if you are, you sure as heck better be tracking your blood sugar, because if you are not, there's a very good chance that you're stressing out all morning long. You're stressing out your adrenals by making them get revved up, telling your liver to kick out glucose while you're in that fasting state.
Yeah, so I think it's very important that people have, guidance and, hold the hand and have that guidance to do this type of thing, especially fasting. I cannot go fasting because
I almost died when I would do that. But here's the other part with intermittent fasting, and just a quick side note here is that most people are intermittent fasting incorrectly, and they're intermittent fasting in the morning, when in reality, we should stop eating by 4:35, maybe 5:30 at the latest, and then not eat again until about 8 or 8:30 the next morning. And so that fasting, if you've read Dr. Bredesen, The End of Alzheimer's, he says that fasting window at night, you've got to stop eating earlier and have as long of fasting during sleep as possible. And if somebody's APOE4, which I am, and I've had multiple concussions, so I know that my brain needs all the regeneration it can get, even earlier. And, if you're eating by 7, 8 o'clock at night, that is actually one of the worst things you can do for your body, metabolically, weight, brain regeneration, a lot of different things. So most people should fast until about 8, 8:30 in the morning, and then break their fast, like breakfast, and then have their lunch.
That's why it's breakfast.
and then eat an earlier dinner. And if you're not going to make it home in time for that, then you got to eat before you leave work or whatever you got to do, so that you might sit there with the rest of the family, but if you got autoimmune and you want to intermittent fast, that's the way that you probably need to do it.
Yeah. So then you talk about fasting. What about food? Do you have anything that you say, don't eat this or don't eat? I know it's
So
general. I know it's not supposed to do to general, but
we're talking about blood sugar. If you look at my book, Blood Sugar Doesn't Lie, I don't have a diet. It's only about this thick. I don't have a diet.
I was reading. I was reading about the nightshades.
I don't have a meal plan, because I'd be lying. One person could eat sweet potatoes, and the other person can't eat sweet potatoes. But get that. So here's a few fun ones. Most people, sweet potato is worse than white potato for their blood sugar.
Oh wow, that is something new for me.
Most people, rice, like 99% of the people, rice, brown rice, white rice, wild rice, doesn't matter, makes their blood sugar go way, way too high. And this is people, from Brazil that are eating rice, that are from South Africa.
I'm from Brazil, so we eat rice every day, but I don't eat rice anymore.
From Mexico, from Japan, from Africa, India, I don't know if it's just when they come to the United States or what, but everybody that I've seen, one of my sons, he's 19, we started checking his blood sugar last year. He was not growing anymore and still eating like a growing teenage boy, and we're like, hey, we're gonna check, see what's going on. And he would hit over 200 sometimes if he had rice or rice pasta or rice noodles, things like that. And it's organic and natural, and having some organic red sauce with it, and chicken and some kale from our garden and all that. But those rice noodles, boom, makes it go. Quinoa, not very good. Beans, not very good. So oatmeal is glorified for breakfast all over, and for the vast majority of people, it is a significant spike in the blood sugar. And here's the deal: if somebody is just healthy, feeling great, doing fine, they might be okay to have a few of those spikes throughout the day. But what the crowd we're talking about right now, autoimmune, we've got to keep that blood sugar stabilized. And it is a huge part of how I've gotten so many patients to be able to reverse their MS, reverse their rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, all these things. I don't heal anybody. And even those people aren't doing things to heal. Their bodies are doing the healing because I always say I'm not smart enough to get past the basics, but you've got to fix those basics, and you do more of the good stuff, less of the bad stuff, and give the body a chance to heal. And that's
The
what's
chance to heal, yeah. And don't worry, everyone. We're gonna talk about the ebook about blood sugar very soon. Not
critical.
yet, but very soon.
Okay.
So you will know more about that because I think it's something people need to know more and understand, you know, how so they can help themselves and connect with you also and understand better about this. So can you talk a little bit? I wonder if all this is part of your Galyard method or is different. How does it work? Can you
Yeah,
talk a little?
absolutely. So, the thought process is combining, looking at the brain, looking at that metabolic side, bringing in technology. Probably the vast majority of our patients are virtual nowadays, just the way the world has gone. And so we use 3 months of a continuous glucose monitor. We'll use 3 months of a lumen device, which is checking the carbon dioxide through the breath, looking to see if you're burning more fat or carbs, what percentage of macros you need to be eating, how long you should be fasting. Just really dialing in these things. We'll, for those virtual patients, we have a home neurofeedback unit where we can use specific protocols for their brain map, or we can even, if we can't brain map, we have specific sleep protocols and calm and relaxation and all types of different things to get them out of that fight or flight, which is really, for autoimmune, that is one of the biggest things that somebody can do, is to calm themselves down. And, even in the Bible, I don't know how many times, 20, 40, 50 times they talk about fear not. And yet, and so for
He's
thousands of
almost saying, fear not, and then we got always scared.
it's do not worry and all these things. And for thousands of years they've been talking about that. It's not just it's the world's going faster. Sure, we've got our cell phones, we've got bills and all these things, and yet there's
And
been
also, I think the pandemic made a difference, I think, in everyone's lives because uh, the fear that brought and also the isolation, because, isolation is not also very good for our fight or flight either, because then
no.
we feel more scared. Yeah.
And then the division between,
Yeah.
you should do this, you shouldn't do that, you're villainized, you're going to kill people if you do these things or don't do these things. And and even going down that road, I've seen, significant autoimmune flares from COVID and from COVID shots. Both of those,
Oh, yes.
have
A
been
lot
able
of
to
people.
drive, infections. When I draw out my circle of all the different systems that we're looking at, infection is one of the biggest ones. You Google Epstein-Barr virus and autoimmune, and there's 6, 8 different autoimmune that PubMed and all these JAMA and everybody, they talk about that there's a direct correlation between Epstein-Barr virus and autoimmune. And so there's just so many different areas that need to be addressed, and that's where people they'll say, oh, all autoimmune is from parasites, or
Mm.
all autoimmune is from Lyme, or everybody that's got fibromyalgia is from a childhood trauma or whatever. And I'm like, well, some people, but definitely not everybody.
Not everybody. And sometimes it's a combination, can be also combination of
Oh,
factors.
every time. I'm gonna tell you that every time it's a combination. I've never seen one. Even like you hear these moms that, oh, I was never the same after my second kid or third kid or whatever, as that estrogenic event. But leading up to it, they were already tired. They were already insulin
Something was
resistant.
going
That
on
they already
already.
had leaky gut. They already had other things going on, and so then that was just what pushed it over the top.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to become more aware of that. So that's why I really like you say you in terms of digging deeper to know all the systems and see what could be that is causing that. That is, I think, very, very important. So I want to talk about your gift because I think it's important for people to know. So Dr. Galyard is giving to you today. So I think it's you're gonna know much more about. It's called a ebook, and it's called Blood Sugar Doesn't Lie. How hidden blood sugar imbalance drives chronic disease and brain disorders, and your guide to fixing it, because it's very important we also learn what can we do. And I think it's very good that we can do a little bit here and there, but also when the problem is more serious, we need to have someone who is there to help us. And the link is below. Don't click there yet because I want you to finish the interview, but you can have access as you click the link, and you're going to be able to download it. Okay, thank you. And thank you so much for offering this ebook and explaining more in details about the effect of blood sugar in detail, because I know I cannot eat banana because if I eat a banana, for me it's like you talk about rice, I'm like, oh, talk about banana. If I eat a banana, my sugar goes like crazy. I don't eat. Maybe,
Yeah,
what?
it's
Yeah.
it's a really important part of the puzzle. I always say we could reverse or prevent upwards of 90% of chronic diseases in the United States if everybody would stabilize their blood sugar 85 to 110. It's
Wow.
not the be all and end all, but if you think about cancer, what feeds cancer?
Sugar. Yeah.
Sugar. You think
Sugar.
about Alzheimer's, what do they call Alzheimer's?
Yeah. Everything is
Type, type,
all
type,
and
type 3
all kinds.
diabetes.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
all kinds of inflammation. And even
inflammation.
aging is inflammation. Now I'm learning.
Cardiovascular disease. You know, you look at gout. You know, even going into that route. You know, uric acid is a big thing that people are talking about now. You go into fatty liver. You know, that's all blood sugar now. It's almost every single condition at least has a component to it. And you know, I always say during COVID, if we would have sent out continuous glucose monitors instead of COVID tests and masks and all these things, and you know, and had people learn how to stabilize their blood sugar, you would have seen amazing changes.
Improve the health of the whole nation. Wonderful. So we are getting to the end of our interview. I really appreciate your expertise here, and I like to almost always, always finish the session asking for a final word or advice for people who have autoimmune disease. And I know you already taught a lot of things here.
No, no, that's
What
good.
would you tell someone who is suffering from a chronic condition or autoimmune disease?
So there is hope. There is hope that you can get better. And it's not going to get better by, you know, if you've got Hashimoto's, just taking levothyroxine, taking a hormone. It's not going to be, oh, I took enough Humira, I took enough methotrexate, low dose chemo, I took enough, you know, whatever immunosuppressant or injection or whatever, and now my body healed. You might need to do that stuff short term, but ultimately you've got to fix the why. Dig deep, look at those systems, look at your adrenals and your blood sugar and your leaky gut and infections and environmental toxins and estrogenic events, and look at your vitamin D and look at food allergens and all of these different things, and think not how am I going to stop my autoimmune disease over here. Think about how am I going to fix the systems that are driving this immune inflammatory process. Because think about this, your immune system is not an immune system. It's not a system. Your immune system is integrally involved with every single system that your gut, your brain, your adrenals, your liver, your skin, everything. And so you've got to address the entire body all the systems, and then that immune system starts going where it needs to be and calming down and not attacking. And that's how we get to see the miracles with our patients, all the way from Crohn's disease and having 30 bowel movements a day to MS, and people coming back with no more plaquing and going 3 years between their MRIs because they don't have MS anymore, to Hashimoto's going away, to lupus going away, to all of these different things. It is possible. Your body is amazing. Your body was designed perfectly. And if you give it more of the good stuff, less of the bad stuff, you'll get to see those miracles.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. And I think it is giving the body a chance to heal, because the body wants to heal. That's true. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your participation in our summit and your wisdom here with us. Thank you so much, Dr. Galyard. And thank you also for joining us today. And remember to tune back to the real story of autoimmune disease. Thank you.